Yo, Vodka here with a Berserk video for you guys today. Gonna be doing some power scaling to take a break from the analysis eye type videos and just look at some cool, badass. So I'm gonna rank some of the strongest beings within Berserk manga, and I'm by no means a power scaler, so this could go very wrong, but I'm gonna try my best. So these are the characters I've chosen, and this is not by the definitive strongest, it's just a collection of characters that I want to rank, because I'm quite fond of talking about them. I'm going to go from the bottom to the top, so starting with the weakest of the list, I will be placing Judo. It hurts me to place the jack of all trades at the bottom, however he is just a human and doesn't have a massively impressive feat compared to the others. Whilst he is tactically brilliant, I'm mainly addressing it in a 1v1 situation, and I don't see him beating anyone else on this list with his weapons, strength or intelligence. So Judo will be placed bottom, but I still love him thoroughly. Followed closely next is Pippin. Whilst Pippin is immensely strong, he has a lack of intelligence and agility, being easily massacred by the Count in the Eclipse, something Black Swordsman Guts managed to tank multiple hits and still fight. He performs well against the Black Dogs band, however this is only against human opponents and he has no amazing feats anywhere else to bring him high above human level. Next is Isidro, and this placement may be controversial, however I will argue my point nonetheless. Although Isidro is a young kid, he possesses some talent in swordsmanship, and his main advantage being the fetishes granted to him by Flora. The dagger and explosives are massive amps to his character, using them to expertly maneuver around the troll leader, demolishing him in the process. I'd be willing to bet that the troll has more raw strength than Pippin, and whilst Judo could outsmart Isidro, with his armory I don't see Isidro going down, as one hit from the dagger and Judo is finished. Now we have Casca, and I think she simply clears the rest due to her ability. I'm going to use her before her mind broke, which is fair in my opinion, and she was an expert fighter with elite agility and skill. I think she would be able to outmatch Isidro as long as she avoids his medium range attacks from the explosives, which shouldn't be a challenge as she has exhibited a gifted athletic prowess performing acrobatic movements against the likes of Adon. Silat will be the final character in this row, and for obvious reasons. Whilst Casca does keep up with his movements at first, Silat quite easily pins her, ready for the kill soon after, and although Casca is severely weakened state at the time, Silat's agility is on par with Guts himself, and his current self is even stronger, so I think it's safe to say we can place him above her. Silat has a long range and short range attacks, his chakrams proving lethal if finding their target, but can we just admire how easily Guts catches these? I mean, that was cold. So that rounds up tier E. If you disagree, then let me know, because I'm happy with this so far. Things are going to get a bit wacky now, but up next I got the Count. Now obviously as an apostle, the Count possesses superhuman levels of strength and endurance, being able to destroy buildings and chuck Guts around like a rag doll. Due to his massive size however, he is quite slow and Guts manages to outsmart him with simple distraction tricks, meaning he isn't the sharpest. That being said, Guts was about to probably die from the Count if Teresia wasn't there to be taken hostage, but it's not guaranteed. So overall the Count is certainly strong, but lacks speed and intelligence to progress much higher. Next up is Raskus, which could be a potential misplacement as I wasn't sure on where to place him at all to be honest. His feats include lifting up and ripping open a horse with ease, suggesting he has far more strength, and he is an elite assassin with silent and quick movements alongside flight. In a one-on-one scenario, his flight could be a massive factor as he can instantly retreat if need be, depending on the arena and attack from a different angle. I feel like he'd be quick enough to dodge the Count and go for blind spots above him with this method, so yeah, Raskus takes his next spot. He is also really cool and I like him and it's my tier list, so have that. Next up is one of the vilest characters within the story, and that's the ape-like Wild. Now whilst Wild is obviously an apostle with elite superhuman strength, he still got punked by Golden Age Guts, which is why I struggled to scale him, as Guts literally had Wild in a dying state, someone who can easily lob tree trunks, so possible plot armor for Guts, or perhaps his mentality was amped because of Griffith. What's even funnier is Guts uses the exact same move to trick Wild as he does with the Count, and Wild's dumbass falls for it. Because of his carefree attitude, Wild's battle IQ is quite low, taking more pleasure in the thrill of the fight rather than efficiency, which is why he was so easily outwitted by Guts. I think his raw strength alone would carry him quite far in a few of his matchups, however his durability isn't that good, being easily sliced up and stabbed by a normal sword. Rosine will be above Wild. In her normal form, Rosine can dodge attacks from a prime Black Swordsman Guts with Dragon Slayer, who has been shown to achieve some crazy feats of speed against other opponents, and this only increases in her released form. Guts literally admits to not being able to see her attacks at first, meaning without his defensive use of Dragon Slayer blocking the attack, Rosine would have pierced him like a kebab almost instantly. Guts eventually begins to track her attacks, however, can only get a chance on her by allowing himself to be skewered. One thing I have realised during this video is how insanely smart Guts' battle IQ is, playing into his enemies' weaknesses such as overconfidence, as we see with Rosine as well. As she taunts Guts lowering her guard, Guts unleashes the full force of his arm cannon into her, causing a massive shot to her torso. This cannon has been known to literally destroy apostles such as the female apostle at the beginning of the manga, and Rosine falls from an insane height and survives the fall relatively unscathed as she is able to talk coherently and continue fighting. Even after Guts pierces her through the body with Dragon Slayer, she still fights, showing her crazy durability, but with the downfall for Rosine is obviously her lack of experience in battle, being only a young child paired up against a seasoned warrior like Guts, whose pain tolerance is beyond human level, a final cleave of his sword causing her to fall, eventually dying. Rosine definitely had the potential to be a very high class apostle, however her young age meant she was not prepared to use her abilities to their full extent. Finishing out tier D is going to be everyone's favourite preacher, Mozgus. Mozgus has a range of abilities in his pseudo-apostle form, which includes flight, fire breath, superhuman endurance and strength, and limb manipulation, easily keeping up with an emotion-amped Guts, tanking many shots from his Dragon Slayer with his scaly protection. Mozgus batters the Black Swordsman for some time before finally being breached. Mozgus has such a range in his armory that most of his enemies will struggle to comprehend him, which gives him a large advantage in a one-on-one fight, and I think his defensive will be strong enough to withstand the likes of Rosine. And that rounds up tier D. Starting off tier C is going to be the Black Swordsman Guts, who is a real headache to place due to his main character attacks, but I have to judge it from a purely objective basis, and I just don't see him beating anyone else on the list. Black Swordsman Guts is shown to have elite strength, endurance and speed, being responsible for the defeat of most characters in tier D and E. His rage is a main factor for his power, hatred powering his motives, and travelling with Puck means he has a constant access to healing dust, which helps for quick recovery. The Dragon Slayer has been shown to tear through apostles and humans alike with ease, also building up an astral power due to the amount of apostles Guts has slaughtered. Alongside his strongest weapon, Guts possesses a hand cannon that can obliterate apostles at close range, throwing knives that have been shown to blind strong opponents, and a repeating crossbow that has a very quick fire rate, damaging people from a distance. Guts has a wide range of utility, making him a very tricky opponent to face, and whilst he could certainly give others above a good challenge, he does have limits as we all do. Guts can take many men paws, however there is an unattainable level of power he can reach due to his human limitations. Next up is going to be Mr. Calculating himself, Serpico. I'm going to use the current Serpico, so the one with the sylph hood and sword, which gives him an immense boost. Basically gifting him flight and enhanced movement from the cloak, he can react quickly with the power of the elements, his sword showcasing cutting up large amounts of enemies such as the trolls. Serpico has produced some very impressive feats, such as reacting to Ganishka's lightning attacks, even slashing one that has been shown to damage Berserker Guts and incinerate apostles. While Serpico is slender, his mind is certainly one of the most tactical in the story, which he uses in battles to outthink opponents, even in a weaker form, using his terrain to his advantage to use Guts' weakness against him. Whilst I do think Serpico has the ability to beat those below him, his main issue would be his durability, as he has been shown to be taken out of battle from injuries of weaker opponents, and therefore would certainly not be able to tank shots from the apostles like the Count and Wild. As long as he dodges and weaves, however, he should be faster than them, ending the fight quickly. Shirkei will be above Serpico, but this one is certainly situational. While Shirkei is primarily a support character, providing massive amounts of power from behind the main ranks of Guts and Serpico, for most of her powers to be summoned she must focus and enter an unconscious state of her body to connect to the astral realm, which presents an issue. In a one-on-one this would be a weakness, as she would not be able to move while summoning, which can take time to achieve, meaning if the opponent is fast enough, they may be able to take her out quickly. However, due to the power she can wield, I simply feel wrong placing her lower. Her water manipulation is by far one of the most impressive feats of strength in Berserk alone, easily controlling a vast amount of land, the same with her fire manipulation and Wheel of Flame, wiping out a ton of Daka and saving the crew. Ultimately, Shirkei's survival depends on how fast she can summon her magic, and if not, she gets no diffed by basically everyone below her, due to her being a 13-year-old girl. If it wasn't for her quite large risks, I'd definitely place her higher, and who knows, by the time she's a fully grown adult with even more mastery of the arts, Shirkei could easily be one of the most powerful in the verse, as she's clearly highly gifted at such a young age, so I could see it. If she had prep time, then I think the chances of her winning tremendously increase, as she can create shields and protect herself with things such as the golems. Tier B is where the power really takes a turn and the heavy hitters start to emerge. These two I really don't think have enough to scale properly, however from narrative implications we can assume that Locus and Irvine rank very highly as they're elite warriors of Griffith's army and have been shown to easily decimate opponents. I'm going to place them next to each other with Irvine just edging it, however both have very unique abilities. Irvine's bow has an insane accuracy alongside power, able to destroy humans in his human form which only improves in his transformed state. The arrows that seem to derive from his own fur can split after hitting the target, piercing them inside, brutally tearing monsters up. Locus has limb manipulation as well, able to form giant spears that can easily shred multiple victims at once. His speed is also comparable to Irvine, being able to move so fast he can deflect 12 close range archers with perfect precision of his lance, creating after images in his human form. Whilst we can base their power on the small glimpses we have received, I am mainly allowing them this far up on the narrative implications of their characters, and that is why they will progress no further. Next is another narrative based scaling, and that is Flora. We can assume that Flora scaled far above Shirkei as she is a very old and wizened witch, easily over 100 years, and trained Shirkei herself. With proven foresight she is highly knowledgeable to the point where Griffith felt it necessary to erase her from the world. In her old age she has a final stand against the Apostle Onslaught, creating an impenetrable wall that allows everyone to escape, holding back the likes of released Grumbeld. Above Flora will be the sorcerer Diber. Diber has showcased some impressive feats of magic, being able to tussle with Berserker Guts, Sylph Serpico and Isidro for some time at least, reacting and being on the offensive to them with multiple techniques revolving around water manipulation. Even though he is defeated, he wasn't out of the fight but called off by Ganishka, meaning he could have continued to fight them. He can also fly, control animals, and was one of the highest ranking officials in Ganishka's army. In a one-on-one fight, Diber would have a wide arsenal to attack from, and with such a mastery would make a worthy challenge for anyone, even stronger if he was younger, most likely. The final ranking of Tier B will be the dragon wannabe Grumbeld. Grumbeld is a giant in his human form, easily throwing around a weakened black swordsman Gut, and this strength only increases when in demon form. His durability is very high, being able to take hits from Berserker Guts, and although he is slowly beaten, he can still keep up with him and hit back against Guts. Due to his high level of durability, opponents who could not directly pierce him would definitely struggle, and his stamina is capable of holding off an army of 3,000 during the 100 Years' War for a considerable amount of time. His fire breath would also present an issue to those without quick movement or protective armor, making Grumbeld a very strong opponent indeed, and from narrative implications we can assume he's one of the most powerful in Griffith's army. There could be no better character to kick off Tier A other than motherfucking Zod. Zod has been around since the very beginning, flaunting his power throughout, and it should be no surprise that he is one of the strongest around. He has been shown to do things such as easily pick up Wild and rip him open with just horns, fight on par with Berserker Guts in terms of reaction speed, survive fights with Ganishka, Skull Knight and Femto, all of whom outscale him. His stamina is so honed for battle that he will most likely not tire, and this is also amplified by the ability for him to reattach limbs, meaning any damage dealt can be reversed quite quickly. He doesn't have a wide range of weaponry, however, prioritizing axes and swords in his human form and simply using his fists in apostle form, meaning he is predictable to what he will attack with. This does not mean he is any weaker, however, as his strength, speed and durability scale higher than most others, and in a one-on-one fight there's not much you can do to counter that. Another one you have definitely been waiting for is Berserker Armored Guts, who will place just above Zod. I think a full power Berserker Guts does indeed kill Zod in a deathmatch, as he has shown to contend with the likes of Grumbeld, damaging him severely. In their latest fight, Guts can move faster than Zod, getting past him to get to Griffith, and that's without the armor even being activated. Alongside this, a weaker Guts has forced Zod to go to apostle form. He gains temporary immortality whilst using the armor, as the pain ceases to affect him, and this means any blunt trauma or piercing of that sort will no longer be a problem. The only issue is that if enough damage is sustained, Guts will just simply die. Dragon Slayer can be swung at impossible speeds, as can Guts, who dodges Ganishka's lightning, and with this speed his attack power is beyond deadly. I don't see Guts losing to anyone else below him, even the sorcerers such as Diber and Flora, and this may be partial bias, but oh well. Berserker Guts is easily one of the most vicious warriors within the story, and only the otherworldly elite seem to be able to deal with him easily. Above Guts I will be placing the world ender Shiva. Ganishka's final form is one of the most overwhelmingly destructive in the verse, massacring thousands of soldiers with ease, turning them into his pseudo-apostles that Griffith's army struggled to fight back. The main form itself is simply unstoppable to anyone below in the list, and even Femto did not have a method of beating Shiva without the use of hacks redirecting Skull Knight's sword stroke. Basically, Shiva is Ragnarok, able to obliterate anything in his path, creating environmental changes, and is compared to the end of the world. Although Ganeshka in the process does lose his mind, he still attacks anything in his way, and in a one-on-one he has no weaknesses without the use of hacks as previously stated. There's not much more to say for this character other than he's easily the most powerful apostle of all time, and if you're put up against him then GG. The cause for Shiva's defeat will be next, and that is fan favourite Skull Knight. Now I am sick to death of the debate that Skull Knight and Zod are equals. The contest was closer before Skull Knight acquired the Sword of Actuation Sure, which negates durability. However, it is still narratively implied that Skull Knight is the superior warrior. Rickett states that Skull Knight fought better than Zod, managing to cut his arm off and make it into the eclipse. Whilst people seem to think they are on a stalemate due to them being rivals for centuries, I simply think that the casuality is a large factor as to why Skull Knight does not kill Zod, as both of them possess a strong foresight into future events and therefore have roles in the coming conflicts. But I digress. Skull Knight is shown to be able to react to attacks from Femto and Void, moving at incredible speeds and easily chopping up enemies, such as in Cliploth, dragging them down to hell after. His stamina is probably limitless, being a wraith who's lived for over 1,000 years, and with his teleportation abilities makes him almost impossible to fight and predict against in a fight. To be honest, Skull Knight could probably be in tier S, but there is a distinct increase in power for the final members of that tier. Entire Godhand belongs in tier S, but to keep it shorter, I'ma just rank my favourite 3. Slam will be on the lower scale simply due to a lack of offensive feats. However, as a Godhand member, she should be comparable to the others, so it is safe to say that she possesses inhuman endurance, speed and strength. She also exists in the astral realm alongside the mortal, meaning if you kill a mortal form, such as Guts does in Cliploth, it would not affect her other self, basically making her impossible to kill. Another power of hers is that she's really fucking hot. Femto's up next, and the best way to describe this guy is just God. Any power that could exist, he's got it. He exists everywhere, can fly, spatial manipulation, transformation, godly endurance and strength, universal awareness. We see how easily he can pass Guts on Elfhelm, no issue about it. Even if Guts could cleave his physical form, his astral self would probably remain undamaged, and we haven't even seen the limit to his power yet. Just a long day for anyone having to fight him. Skull Knight's slash of the Sword of Actuation negates durability, and one-tap Shiva is effortlessly redirected by him. Femto's existence itself is absolute, and therefore he has no plausible weaknesses yet shown in Berserk. Without including the idea of evil, the most powerful character in Berserk is Void. As the oldest and wisest Godhand member, it is narratively implied that he is the leader of them, and whilst Femto has done much more in the physical world and may surpass Void in the future, for now Void possesses a wider range of knowledge, and should scale in terms of power to Femto at least, being a Godhand member. He has spatial manipulation, casually flipping Skull Knight's attack back at him, and is the only member shown to have access to the Invocation of Doom. It's easier to call him a stronger version of Femto with any powers Femto has and more due to his age. Sorry for this video taking decades to release, but my life has been pretty busy as of recent. However, I can promise production will return to normal within the next few weeks. Until next time, peace.